Take advantage of real joy. Well, aren't you experiencing real joy right now? Or maybe you can reflect upon times where you have. I'm happy to share with you some ideas on how to access real joy, especially during this time of Purim, where we are required to actually increase our happiness in the month of Adar. And we can ask ourselves, real joy? How can I be really joyous? I have so many challenges. I have so many stresses. I don't know what's happening tomorrow. I don't know what's going to be. And how can I access real joy if I just feel so uneasy? I have a lot of anxiety. Or one can say to themselves, is real joy a requirement to live my life? What if I'm just okay with everything and I'm not always smiling and I don't have a balance in my step? Isn't that okay? Isn't it fine to live a life in that way? And the truth of the matter is we are required to actually live a life of happiness. We're obligated to be happy, to serve our God with happiness, not with a grudge and not with resentment and not with feeling that we're burdened to do things. We are required to actually be joyous and serve Him. So I'm going to share with you some ideas about Purim, some ideas about accessing real joy with practical tips at the end. A person who is actually trying to follow the Torah and live by the Torah and do the right thing. A person can think, yes, that's real joy. Yes. And sometimes it's hard to do the right thing. Sometimes it's really hard. We can understand someone who isn't doing the right thing, such as a thief. A thief who steals things, steals animals, let's say. Back in the day, they used to steal sheep and oxen. And it says in the Torah, if a person steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he must pay 5 for the oxen and 4 sheep for the sheep. Basically, what does this mean? Why is it that for the oxen you have to repay 5 oxen, and for the sheep only 4 sheep? Why? The reason why you have to repay 5 oxen for the oxen that you 5 oxen for the oxen that you steal, for 1 oxen that you steal, you have to repay this much because this is your consequence. Now, why if you steal a sheep, now you have to give 4 sheep back, but if you steal an oxen, you give 5 oxen back. Why? And the reason is, if a thief steals an oxen, all he has to do is pull the oxen, and the oxen will go where he wants him to go quickly. Now, if you want to steal a sheep are usually very, very loyal to their shepherd. Because they're loyal to their shepherd, they may be reluctant to go. So the thief is forced to put the sheep on his back and quickly run away because he wants to steal the sheep. This putting on his back, this act of putting on his back, is actually a form of embarrassment. Even though the thief is cruel, he's doing the wrong thing, Hashem says, I'm going to relieve you of paying back with 5 sheep. You have to pay me back with 4 sheep because that punishment is actually a suffering and it atones for that 1 more sheep. So that's very interesting how a person who's doing the wrong thing, Hashem still has mercy on him and still tells him, listen, that embarrassment was a suffering for you and that's an atonement. How much more so does a person who does the right thing, and wants to make Hashem happy? Even if a person who is very coarse, such as a thief, the slight embarrassment he experiences lightens the punishment he receives for his crime. All the more so, if you have ever suffered embarrassment or humiliation, even though you did the right thing, even though you did a good deed, the suffering greatly elevates your action and your reward will be very great. Some people are greatly afraid of the disapproval of others. Even if they are doing something worthwhile, they feel suffering if other people mock them, and in other words, they're very sensitive. If someone were to offer you a large sum of money, and they would say they will give you that sum of money if somebody will insult you, you will react with joy to that insult. You will look forward to that insult. Why? Because you're expecting it and you know that large sum of money is going to come your way. Similarly, when you are performing a mitzvah, any insults or put downs greatly increase your merit and reward. This awareness will enable you to react with joy to any difficulties with other people that arise when you are doing good deeds. Now, this is very easy to say and very hard to do because obviously we don't like to get insulted, we don't like to be criticized, and an automatic reaction is to defend ourselves. However, this is something we can work on our whole life, and the best thing to do is practice. Imagine that person criticizing you. Imagine your reaction, your calm reaction. Imagine you not reacting at all. And by your imagination, it will help you actually step into those shoes easily. It's like when you're imagining you're creating the crease with your footprints, and then when the situation actually arises, you'll be able to be silent. Because embarrassment and humiliation, even when you're trying to do the right thing and you do the right thing, definitely will elevate the quality of your mitzvah, of what you're doing. Now, so how do we access true joy? It's linked to what we do. So when you're doing a mitzvah, even when you feel like you're humiliated or embarrassed, but so much more so when you actually do the right thing. Now, what is true joy? True joy is when we're doing the right thing for other people. True joy is when you're giving, giving, giving. The month of Adar, we're required to be extra happy. But how so? You know, it is really not easy to be happy long term. When we buy that new dress, we're so excited by how it feels, the delicate feeling of the fabric, the embroidery, the beauty. We're so excited. But after a few days of wearing that dress, it's really old news, and you're probably not going to wear the same dress again. It's been a few years, or you've worn it a few times, and you're just done. It's not as exciting anymore. How about that baby? You've been waiting to have a baby. You've been blessed to have a baby. And when the baby finally is on your lap, finally on you, when it's born, all you want to do all day is just kiss its tiny hands and feet. Why is it that when this baby becomes a teenager, it's hard for us to be so excited about that child? It's the same child. Why is it so hard for us? Why is it so hard for us to feel that excitement? And all we can do to that teenage son or daughter is pick up your clothes off the floor. So how can we stir that happiness within us? How about your husband, our spouse, who we were just so excited to marry under the wedding canopy? He was the chassan, he was the groom. He stirred your heart, and all of a sudden, isn't he the same man? It's not as exciting anymore. The answer is the novelty of something new wears off unless you're giving to it. If you're giving to who you have, you will feel a renewed relationship with your children, with your spouse, with whoever you interact with. Just give, give, give. That's the Torah's true answer. Now, I want to share with you a quick little story that happened to me recently. I was out shopping and I saw this woman outside a grocery store, and I recognized her because I saw her in a different neighborhood. And now she was in my neighborhood, and she was asking for money for her son who's sick. I don't remember the details of the poster, and it's really not relevant. She had a poster up asking for any change people have, and I remember her saying, I feel so uncomfortable. I wish I didn't have to do this. And she said, this is so embarrassing. It's interesting how I recorded this video this week on this thought, and she said the word embarrassing, and I saw her this week. It's just interesting how everything just really plays along nicely. And when I record these videos, I really ask Hashem to really help me say the right words and also put the right thoughts together to help us all grow. So it's so interesting how it all had to it just all came together really beautifully. So I remember her saying, "This is so embarrassing. I wish I didn't have to do this. This feels so uncomfortable." And it's a cold winter night, I mean, during the day, and it's cold, and there was a light, gentle drizzle. And obviously, she didn't want to be out, and I felt so bad for her. So, giving to someone should feel good, should feel delicious. Now, it may not be the most convenient, it may not be that you want to do it, but giving is the true answer to experience true joy. Giving, giving, giving. That is the Torah's true answer. When the novelty of something new wears off, it is hard to maintain that original joy. The very same item that ignited a surge of emotion suddenly does nothing for your heart. So how do we make that newness a constant reality? Is to give, give, give. Give to people. Give to your husband. Give to your kids. Give to your neighbor. Give to the convert. Give to the widow or the orphan. When you are giving to others, you are really investing in your own joy. Taking and receiving is temporary and dry. Once you get it, even if it's a birthday, it's exciting for a day or two. You take it, you're excited. It just wears off. When you give to someone, that is just eternal. You're investing in your own eternity. And when a person is looking to take instead of receive, that's not real joy. Because taking is not only temporary, but you're always expecting from others. You're always waiting for someone to make you happy. So the equation is really, really simple. If joy comes from newness, by pouring your inner abilities and allowing them to flow, you give them a new spirit, new koach, new strength, and to its space, and you feel more and more joy. The more you give, the more newness you experience. Because when you give to someone, all of a sudden your relationship is different. They see you differently, or they see you more positively. And that's just a wonderful relationship, a more pleasant relationship. This giving fills you with that rush of energy that emanates from the newness that it creates. What a blessing. Now, it's very interesting. The word shefa in Hebrew, the word shefa in Hebrew means abundance of material possessions, especially in our prevalent society today. American society is so well known just to have, the more you have, the better it is. Get more food for a lesser price, more. Everything is more. But it does not lead to true joy. It does not. The Maharal, who's a sage, teaches us that the Hebrew letters of the word shefa can be rearranged to create the word ipush, which means to decay. In other words, if you don't express your inner capacity to give, if you don't use that urge to give, or that ability to give, this power will shrivel up inside of you, sucking out the joy of living. True joy emanates from giving without any expectation back, giving without a thank you, giving without a reimbursement, giving without an acknowledgement, giving without something back. The moment you start giving, you will see how Hashem infuses you with new koichas, which we said strength, and it won't wear off as long as you keep on giving. So now I want to share with you a few practical tips on how to give, especially this Purim. Now, Purim is a very exciting holiday. It's an interesting holiday. The kids love it. They dress up in costumes. People travel from their neighborhoods to other different neighborhoods, family, to give out these sweet treats. And it's very quick holiday. If you don't take advantage of the kedusha, of the holiday, of the holiness, it will just slip you by. Okay? So just make sure that you invest in this time to truly give, because it's really a very quick holiday. Okay, the practical advice I want to give you is that, number one, you want to give to people who are alone, who are sad, who are going through a hard time, maybe trying to have a new baby, maybe they have tremendous financial pressure, maybe they are just widowed, maybe they're old, living by themselves, or just someone who is in need, maybe to a mommy who just had a new baby. And we want to keep in mind to give to people who just would benefit from a little bit more joy in their lives. Yes, during this pandemic, we are all going through a very hard time. Absolutely. No doubt. However, this pandemic is not in our control in many ways. We can do our best to follow protocol, but in the end, if we're experiencing it, we're doing our best to deal with it. And no matter what, someone could definitely benefit from more joy in their life. Some people are taking it easier than others or more difficult than others. We can all benefit from giving each other more joy. So please don't give to the whole world. Don't give to everyone who's on your contacts list, everybody who you know. You're not required to. You're not required to give to everyone. So give to people who maybe you wish you had a better relationship with, who maybe you got upset at, or they got upset at you. Give to people who lack real joy or who are sad, like we spoke about earlier, who would really benefit from be having more joy. And they don't need to be these grand, humongous baskets. They don't need to do this. This is just a way for marketing to make their money. And you know what? It's great, but give it to people. A few items in there with a few blessings, really a few things, and just you arriving and giving and saying Hag Sameach, Hag Purim Sameach, it really just makes their day, and of course adds more joy to their lives. So we're not required to give to everyone in the world. So just remember, a few people with a few items, and of course a smile on your face. Okay, that was number one. Number two. Oh, I also wanted to add to number one. Don't worry about making your Purim baskets or Purim treats fancy, creative, huge, and expensive. It's the thought that matters, and nobody's going to be unfriending you just because yours is not as fancy as theirs. So just give and don't expect. And remember, the most important thing is to enhance the joy to give to others. Okay, number two. You are giving not because you are not because you're better, not because you worked hard and you could make the money. For example, back to that example of the lady who was standing, next to the grocery store asking for money. Many people won't even look at her. Many people will probably pass her by. And of course, she already feels humiliated and embarrassed. So the best thing we can do, if we feel that we are asked, if we are given the opportunity to give because you are lucky to give, not because you're better, you worked hard, or she should get a job. It's not our job to tell people what to do. But if you're in a position to give, you are lucky to be the giver and not the receiver. It is not comfortable to take. It is always better to give, and it's more comfortable to give. Okay. So number three, when you can't give physically, give in a different way. Give of your time, give of your prayers. To the person who's going through a tough time, waiting to have a baby, going through financial pressure, waiting to get married, something, just call them up. How are you doing? And of course, they're going to probably share with you that things are the same. And you could tell them, you know what, I'm praying on your behalf. How much more joy will they feel that we're praying on their behalf? This is for people who can't visit physically. Maybe they're old, maybe they're sick, maybe they're compromised in other ways. But this is a way you can give without even leaving the couch. Okay. And you can definitely change the world with your prayers. Prayers are very, very powerful. Okay, number 4. Keep a journal where you write down a way that you give to other people, meaning your family, in a new way every day. So once a day, you give to your family in a way that you haven't given yesterday. For example, You had 20 things on your mind, and yet you gave attention to your child. Eye contact, a smile, and attention. Even though you had so much on your mind, even if it's for a few minutes, that's the way you gave. Another way, maybe you made your spouse's favorite side dish, even though you didn't feel like it, and even though you're not even going to eat it. So that's another way you can give. Give without expectation at all. And keep a journal, and you'll see that your giving is going to renew the house with an even more shalom bayit, more peace in the home, more happiness, more joy, and of course, better relationships with our loved ones who matter the most. Okay? Remember, when you are in a position to give, take that opportunity. Many people invest in stocks because they hope to one day triple, quadruple their amount and really invest in a large amount of money. However, when you give of yourself, give more joy, you're investing in eternity that's going to be with you forever. Remember, you are only profiting by truly giving others. You are doing more. You are taking this opportunity of giving more to others. You're really doing more for yourself than doing for them. So take that opportunity to give more joy to the world, to people around you, and may this, God willing, increase joy in the world. Appreciating the insights of Rabbi Zelik Pliskin in Growth Through Torah, Parshat Mishpatim, as well as the book Yemima Mizrahi Speaks, Parshat Mishpatim. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming, Awakening Awareness of Your Greatness and Potential.